never gotta sweet that. You can bet that, never gotta sweet that.
I'll be the rubber, you'll be the match. I won't be a few. Boom, painter, baby, you can be the mute. I'm the reporter, baby, you can be the news. You're the cigarette, and I'm the smoker. We raise a bet, if you're the joker.
Chit chat with cutie. That's what they said. Yep.
Chit chat with QT was killing.
Chit chat with QT for all of this tea.
Hey guys, thanks so much for joining me for another video. I really appreciate you guys for stopping by my channel. Make sure while you're here to please hit the like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe. So let me go ahead and give you my recap of Love and Marriage Huntsville Season 6, Episode 3, Hasta, Tisha, baby. So the episode starts with a continuation of Kiki and Tisha sitting down, and Kiki told Tisha that she felt like Tisha basically abandoned her. And Tisha had to break it down for Kiki. She said Kiki was violent. Kiki told her F her and that baby she was carrying. She said Kiki was stealing her pain meds, and just a lot of BS was going on, and Tisha had to distance herself. Tisha stated she was the one who even took Kiki to rehab because she realized Kiki had a problem and she wanted her to get some help and get better. And I totally understand what Tisha means. I've shared with my cutie crew and maybe even on one of my regular lives that I can totally relate to that. I've had a family member that I've had to cut out of my life after years and years, decades really, of BS. So sometimes you do have to remove yourself completely. It's tough and it's hurtful, but for your own peace of mind, sometimes it has to be done. Now, I have said that I'm not sure if this was around the time that Mel was pitching the show and Kiki was in that state at that time. And if so, I totally understand Tisha going back, saying what she said to Mel and Martell. So I'm not sure of the timeline. I do know that Kiki herself stated that she has relapsed. And again, this could have been around the time that this show was pitched. And if so, then Tisha's intentions weren't out of greed like a lot of us feel. But their goal is to try to mend their relationship. Kiki apologizes and says to Tisha that she wants to move forward. She does not want to have to keep revisiting this same conversation. And it looked like Tisha is still leery, rightfully so, but she did agree to give it another shot. She then invites Kiki to her girls' night event, and Kiki was on board to attend. So it was a good scene between them. At the end of the day, they are family, and as long as Kiki remains on track, I think all will be well with them. Now, I don't know if Tisha is going to be able to trust Kiki 100% because you know you can forgive, but you'll never forget. But pretty good scene. And now for this next scene, I know I've said I am sick of all these Scots, but this scene with Papa Scott, Marceau's father, and Marceau was a good scene as well. Papa Scott gave words of wisdom, and it was nice to see compared to, let's say, messy ass Wanda. There's a big difference, and it's how I love to see parents act. So Papa Scott comes to Alabama to visit, and he goes to Black for the first time. And he was proud of his son. He was impressed with the bar, the decor, the humidor where they keep the cigars, and just overall proud of his son. And Papa Scott came in dropping gems. He told Marceau that he knows he has to work hard and make a living, but he also wants him to make a life. Meaning, yeah, you're out here doing the damn thing and hustling to make sure you and your family are okay. But if you don't stop and smell the roses and enjoy your wife and kids, one day you'll look around and your wife's head will be full of gray hair and your children are going to be grown. And that was some great, great words of wisdom from Papa Scott. And it really didn't seem like Marceau was really taking any of it in, if you ask me. Marceau is a know-it-all, and he feels like the way he runs his ship is the way that it's going to sail. And until Tisha really puts her foot down and demand that he change, he's not going to change. And then Papa Scott, you may not be aware of this, but your boy did take some time away from the wife and kids. This dude went all the way to Africa. So he's living life somehow. But I don't see Marceau changing, really. I think Marceau's goal is for those kids to get grown so he can get gone. That's just my opinion. But next up is Kimmy and Tisha meeting up at a cute little wine bar or whatever it was. But Kimmy came in wondering why they were meeting up there. Tisha then goes on to tell Kimmy that Marceau has a guy that he hired and he gave this guy her office. So she had to find somewhere else to work. Where they do that at? Now, I'm just going to say this. I think that whole office scene stuff is a made-up storyline, but for the sake of this recap, let me go ahead and entertain it. But Kimmy was shocked, like, he did what? You lying, right? And Tisha was like, no, he did it, and the guy even has his degree on the wall. And Marceau didn't even want me to have my degree on the wall. And this is that submissive Tisha that we all know is still there, because I wish I would have walked in my office and my husband just decided to give it to someone else. And I'm the majority owner. Marceau and the guy he hired both would have been finding somewhere else to work. That's disrespectful as hell, and it further proves that Marceau gonna do what Marceau wants to do, and Tisha will just have to deal with it. But Kimmy was appalled, and Tisha, being Tisha, said, yeah, well, he is working on the building at the end of our plaza for an office space for me, but that's going to take a little time. Again, she's letting Marceau do what he wants to do. And now she got to drive around Huntsville to find spots to work. No, ma'am. Either Marceau and old boy take a laptop down the block and sit it up on that bar counter and work, but I be damned if I'm going to be inconvenienced. And this is why for me it's hard to even attempt to try to see Tisha as this boss, because I don't get boss vibes from her. I get Marceau is her boss. But anyway, they get into this whole conversation of how to approach these Scott men and get their way. And I wanted to barf a little bit. We got two boss women sitting here trying to come up with a plan to say what they really mean to their husbands. Tisha goes on to let it be known again, she's been married the longest, but Kimmy came in getting her way with Maurice. Kimmy says, yeah, you see the results, but not the conversation that me and Maurice have. And she always tries to make sure that she word things where he won't feel some type of way. Girl, that's too much. Tell that man how you feel and not tiptoe around to appease him. It's sad to me to see them talking like this. Basically saying that they can't be themselves and have to adjust so they won't ruffle any feathers. But Kimmy suggests to Tisha to bring up things like this to Marsau before or after a sex session. Kimmy, what? So now I gotta screw you to get my way in a business that I'm the majority owner of. You can't be serious. But Tisha says, yeah, you do get your way after that. And it's like, Tisha, please, you done already said that you pencil in sex and make sure you have it every morning. So you already doing that and you're not getting your way. And you shouldn't have to do that to keep your damn office space. But whatever. Mel just so happens to call while Tisha and Kimmy are sitting there. And Mel asks Kimmy over the phone if she's okay. She was wondering how she's doing in her treatment and wondering if Kimmy can have a spa day. Kimmy says yes, she's okay and that would be fine. And then Tisha asks to speak to Mel. Wait, what? What type of conversation did Carlos King have with these people? Tisha wants to speak to the evil, dark soul. And Kimmy was looking shocked. And I don't know why, because we all know that they knew that Mel was going to be calling, so whatever. But yeah, hell done froze over, I guess. But Tisha gets on the phone with Mel, and there was a little dead air when she first started talking, just like it was when Mel called Tisha. But Tisha tells Mel that she's planning this outing for all of the ladies, and she wanted to invite Mel. And Mel was like, oh, okay, cool. Just give Kimmy the info. So I'm assuming Tisha does not have Mel's phone number, just like everybody else. And Mel said, yeah, just give Kimmy the information. Kimmy can relay it to me and I'll be there. But what I got from that scene is everybody is playing nice to save this show. That's it, that's all. But next up, guys, is a scene, a very telling scene, if you ask me, with Tisha and Marsau at home having dinner with the kids. And let me say this first. Marsau and Tisha must really party at the crib because there were liquor bottles everywhere in the background. Just everywhere. But anyway, Marsau starts it off by trying to guilt trip Tisha, and he's asking the kids how they feel with Tisha cooking since she's chosen to work over being there with them. Straight BS if you ask me. Tisha is still at home. That's how I feel, and I'm standing on that. But one of their daughters, I can't remember the name right now, but she basically said, well, you can cook, Dad. And Marsau looked shocked, like, me? A man? Cook? Yeah, you Negro. Your daughter said it right. And then their son, MJ, said, I would never talk to my spouse like that. Marsau is looking shocked again that the son is on Tisha's side. And Tisha said it's a son and his mother, and he's always going to agree with his mom. And I'm just glad to see that Marsau's male chauvinistic ass ways have not rubbed off on little MJ. Great point, MJ. No spouse will talk to the other spouse like your daddy talked to your mama. So yeah, break that Scott curse. But anyway, the kids leave and Tisha and Marsau continues their conversation. And this is what I really picked up on, guys. Tisha slipped up in this scene. And she said that she's trying to figure out where she fits in with his businesses. And it may not be those exact words. So you guys that are watching, go back and watch. But she said his businesses, not ours. But once again, in this scene, Tisha is basically pleading her case and trying to get Marsau to realize that he was wrong by giving away her office. He's wrong by not including her in the decision-making process, hiring and firing and all of that. And she said no one should be able to come and tell her anything about their business. And Marceau goes into this whole spiel about the difference in owners and day-to-day workers. His ass even started talking about Robert Kraft, who is an NFL team owner, and naturally, he's not involved in playing in the damn game, Marceau. But Marceau goes on to talk about Tom Brady being the one that's making the plays and making things happen. And I was just like, Negro, if you don't shut up with this BS, this is not the same. Tisha is supposed to be the majority owner, unless what's been going around on these YouTube streets and social media allegedly is true. Because it's been said that Tisha is owner in name only because she had good credit to make all that shit happen. And that's how it looks and feels, if you ask me. Tisha is not running shit. Where was the transition, Carlos? Why didn't we see this on the show? We've seen for years that Tisha was this housewife that was told she had to stay home and raise the kids. We've seen Tisha begging her master, Marceau, to work. And now all of a sudden, we supposed to believe she's this boss? Why didn't we see that on the previous seasons? It's just not adding up for me. The only work that we've really seen is them at Black. But anyway, Marceau ends up telling Tisha to know her role and play her part, sounding like he's Pimp C from UGK. He said the same shit before. Know your role, play your part. And guess what, Marceau? She does. I just hate seeing Tisha sitting there like she's a daughter listening to her dad, and in the end, she agrees with him. And they trying to sell this boss role to us. Yeah, Marceau is the boss, period. Because if Tisha has some balls, Marceau would be the one finding a new office space. Guess what? Not only that, Marceau would look up and scope, Black, and everything else that's in my name will have a notice on the door. A divorce notice. You're not going to disrespect me. You're not going to take my spot. You're not going to tell me to play my role. And I'm the majority owner. Just a hot ass mess. Marceau is going to Marceau. Period. And Tisha going to let him. And then we get to the last scene, guys, which is all of the ladies meeting up for Tisha's event, which is a spa day. And I'm sorry, what did Tisha say? Oh, that's a good idea that I heard Mel talking to Kimmy about on the phone. Because that's exactly what Mel was suggesting her and Kimmy do. So Tisha swiped that idea. But anyway, the ladies start to arrive and Mel was a little late. And I know it took everything in Mel to show up, period. But Tisha is talking and she says that she's basically not feeling Tiffany because of a prior conversation that her and Tiffany had. So they showed Tisha at Tiffany's house, and Tiffany was talking about how she felt that it was wrong for Kiki to be talking shit about Tisha because Tisha is her family. Tiffany feels if you talk about your own family, that you will talk about her. And Tiffany does have a point. It's not normal circumstances that people will go back and talk about family like that. I just feel like Kiki, in my opinion, basically got her lick back with Tisha. Tisha talked about her, and then Kiki talked about her. That's it. That's all. Same shit. And I think that what Tiffany is doing is done on purpose. Because we know what Tiffany gives. She's done it basically since her first scene on this show when she was talking about Destiny and LeBaric, and then when she brought up Monster and his vaping in school. Tiffany is messy. But I also feel like the producers put a battery in Tiffany's back this season. Let us all remember when Dustin Ross told Carlos when they were doing that recap of how he felt like Tiffany should be on this show. And what he said is basically what we see. Tiffany being in everybody's business and being messy. But anyway, back to the scene. Kiki arrives, and I'm not sure what's going on, but Kiki walked in with some weird, pumped up energy. I hope Sis still clean, but she walks in, and Stormy says how much Tisha and Kiki favor. And they do. They have some strong genes. And Kiki must have forgotten about her truce with Tisha because she said, yeah, Tisha, that's a compliment for you. And I was like, damn, is she trying to say Tisha is ugly or something? It was just a weird thing for her to say, if you ask me. But here goes messy Tiffany, and she's making sure that Tisha heard her. And she tells Tisha, oh, she said it's a compliment for you to look like her. Tisha sort of rolls her eyes, and Kiki again with this weird ass energy says, oh, absolutely, it's a compliment. Who else you want to look like? And I was like, girl, simmer down. I mean, you're a nice looking woman, but you're not giving cover of a magazine voted most beautiful woman in the world vibes. Like, chill out. And we all have said that Kiki wants to be on TV, and that's what it was given, if you ask me. Hell, Tisha even said that. So, yeah, Kiki, calm down. But Kimmy comes back in from getting dressed in her robe, and she noticed that hers didn't fit like Tisha's. And then it seems like Kimmy felt like the vibe in the room was weird, and she asked what was up. Tisha tells her that Kiki is tripping, basically starting shit, and Kiki plays innocent. And child, messy Tiffany activates again. Tiffany mimicked Tisha and the puppets from the reunion and put a sock on her hand. And I'm sorry, guys, I cracked up at it. Tiffany is bringing it. Do you hear me? But it seems like Tisha got offended a little, and she tells Tiffany that she's going to mail her puppet. And Tiffany was like, oh, what, for the baby? And Tisha said, no, one of you. And then Tiffany looked shocked, but she told Tisha's ass the truth, if you ask me. She said puppets are for kids. And is. I thought that was some of the most childish shit when Tisha brought those puppets out on the reunion stage. It wasn't given what she thought it would give, in my opinion. But Tisha wasn't feeling Tiffany and basically told her, look, I will kick your ass up out of here, trying to start some unnecessary shit. Now, those are my words, not Tisha's exactly, but that's what she meant, and I felt Tisha in that moment. It's like, damn, can we get to why we are here and chill and relax first before you start trying to get me and my cousin to start beefing? And Tisha is basically saying, if I'm not giving that type of energy, why are you? And it really doesn't have anything to do with Tiffany. So yeah, Tiffany, let it go. But she's not. I'll get into that more. But Tiffany got the hint in that moment, and she shut right on up. Kudos to Tisha for standing up in that moment. She did not let Tiffany derail her event right off the top. And the producers finally let Mel in. And I'm just kidding. Mel arrived. Now, y'all know they gonna try to have it a little dramatic and act like Mel was late and everybody else was there on time. But whatever. Mel comes in. She says hello to everybody. Said they look nice in their robes. And then she goes to get dressed. And the lady at the facility ends up telling them that they will be in groups. So it's going to be Kimmy, Tisha, and Kiki in one group. And then Mel, Tiffany, and Stormy. And that's an interesting split up, if you ask me, because basically they had family in one group and friends in the other. So we get to a scene where it is now just Tisha and Kimmy. Tisha tells Kimmy basically she wasn't feeling Tiffany, trying to start shit and be shady. And Kimmy said, yeah, she probably was being shady. And it wasn't no probably, she was. And I'm just wondering, where is Kiki? Because again, she's supposed to be in the room with them, but whatever. And then we get to the scene of Mel, Tiffany, and Stormy, where Tiffany was basically trying to get Mel involved in some mess. And like I said the other day, she was trying to bait Mel. But Tiffany made sure to point out that Kiki was Mel's friend. Tiffany goes on to say how she likes to be around positive people like Mel and Stormy, and how she really doesn't trust Kiki. Mel tells her, well, Kiki is not really a bad person, and asks Tiffany, are you talking about the Christmas party? Yes, Mel, she is. That same Christmas party that's damn near 3 years ago. It's like, can we move on? But Tiffany says yes, and how she don't rock with folks that will talk about their family like that. And she again says that Kiki will do it to her if given the opportunity. And it's easy, Tiffany. Just don't be around Kiki, okay? It's not that deep. You guys are not friends, and I'm just trying to figure out, while scene to scene to scene, you still talking about it. But Mel didn't fall for it, and she let Tiffany know, look, I am just here for this experience. I'm here to get me some peace. I'm here to enjoy this relaxed setting, these lights, colors, and aromas. That's it. And Mel is letting her know you will not be able to go back later on in this season and say Mel said this or that. And when I tell you, I was cracking up at Stormy's face, because when Mel was pointing out the colors and this and that, Tiffany and Stormy's eyes were looking in the direction that Mel was pointing to. That shit was funny. But Tiffany tries to get even messier, and she says to Mel, is that a deflection? And Mel said no, just my honest answer. Tiffany, still not catching a hint, goes on to say that she was upset because she saw Tisha crying, and Tisha was really hurt about Kiki. And she said she hadn't gotten to know Kiki, and again, she feels like it was wrong. Enough already. I mean, you would think that Tiffany and Kiki were cousins. Next scene, next storyline, producers, please. But anyway, they go back to Kimmy and Tisha, and Kiki has now joined them. And they once again talk about this damn Christmas party. Kiki wasn't feeling Kimmy running and telling everything that she did to Tisha. She felt like Kimmy started unnecessary shit, and she did. Because as a part of that family, and Kimmy is a part of the family, even if it's being by way of being married to Maurice, Kimmy should have gotten them both together and talked about it. She shouldn't have just run to Tisha. I get that her and Tisha may be close, but yeah, Kimmy was starting shit, and Kiki let her know that she was instigating stuff. And Kimmy says, well, you didn't think that you were instigating anything by coming to Mel's house in the first place? And Kiki said no. And I agree with Kiki. Kiki had no idea what would have been discussed at that Christmas party. So it's not like she had ulterior motives or anything like that. Now, was her motive to get on this show? Absolutely, it was. We can all see, and well, I'll just speak for myself, that it does seem like Kiki is desperate to be on this show. And let me not say desperate, but very eager. But Kimmy tells her, look, everyone felt like you were wrong for talking about Tisha. So now what? Everybody wrong but you? And Kiki said, yeah. And I was like, child, is it perks or something? I mean, I'm sorry. Sorry about that, Kiki, but I don't know what's going on. That's a weird answer because everybody is not wrong. If you look at it in the context that people are saying it happened, it is a little weird for you to be sitting there talking about your cousin. And I think that Kiki does need to accept the part that she played. So everybody was not wrong. Maybe all of you were wrong for talking about Tisha, period, if she wasn't there. And Kimmy just looked at her like, girl, whatever. Kimmy is over Kiki not taking accountability. Tisha then asks, how did this come up anyway? And Kiki said, Stormy. Now, Kiki has stated in one of her lives previously, or maybe it was even an interview, that that's what pissed her off about everything, because it was Stormy who brought Tisha up at that Christmas party. So when she said it in this scene, I definitely believe her. And then they show us a clip from the Christmas party where Stormy was talking about people, talking about Marceau cheating on Tisha, and she was talking to Kimmy, and she said that they haven't really said anything about Maurice, and Stormy felt like people, basically Kimmy, was deflecting from their own issues. And I couldn't agree more, but I have a problem. Why didn't we see that on the show? Why are we just now seeing that now? Because folks have been talking about this alleged cheating with Mr. Marceau, and now we find out damn near 3 years later that the show had an opportunity to bring this up, just like they have brought up each and everything that went on with Martell, and they didn't. What's going on with that, Carlos? That's absolutely ridiculous that you all will leave this on the cutting room floor and then say something 3 years later. Straight BS. But I'm glad that Kiki brought it up, because she's basically telling Kimmy that you didn't run and tell that shit though, did you? You went and told Tisha everything about me, but you definitely didn't bring up that there was conversations about alleged cheating in you and Maurice's marriage. And Kimmy tries to play it off, so she looks at Tisha and she says, I told you about that, right? I told you about Stormy, didn't I? And Tisha was looking like, no, you ain't tell me that. Definitely not what my cousin is saying right now. But Tisha plays it off and said, well, maybe I just don't remember. And I'm sorry, Tisha, she didn't say it to you, because if y'all haven't forgotten about shit from season 1, episode 1, don't try to act like everybody got amnesia now. Kimmy knows that she didn't tell Tisha all the details, and Tisha knows she didn't. But while they are saying all of this, Stormy, Mel, and Tiffany are in the other room, and they can hear what's going on. So they get up to go see what they are talking about. And Stormy walks in and she's like, well, I hear y'all saying Stormy. Tell me about Stormy. And baby, Kiki was ready. Kiki said, I would love to. Kiki tired, you hearing me? Tired of taking the complete blame for some shit that she didn't even bring up. So she says that they were talking about what was discussed at the Christmas party. And Kiki told Tiffany that basically she heard Tiffany has been talking shit because she didn't like what she heard. Tiffany tells her that, yeah, she knows she was supposed to be Mel's friend and all, but she should have been family to Tisha first. And she should not have talked about Tisha. And I could just see the blood boiling inside of Kiki, the way she was looking at Tiffany. And she tells Tiffany that you don't know what you're talking about. And she let her know that her and Tisha are family. They are first cousins. And basically what Kiki was saying to Tiffany is, mind your damn business, please. And you can tell that Kiki was really about to let loose on Tiffany. And Stormy then says, she's pregnant. She's pregnant. In an attempt to get Kiki to stop. And then something that they cut, and I hate that they did, but Tisha gave an interview. I believe it may have been with DJ Richie Sky. But Tisha said that when people were saying that Tiffany was pregnant, she said, Kiki said, yeah, but her mouth not pregnant. And I think they should have left that in the scene. We should have seen that, period. A good cussing out and putting Tiffany in her place is not going to harm that baby. Tiffany deserves it this time. Because she then goes on to say how it just didn't sit right with her and how Kiki threw Tisha under the bus and how they are family and friends come and go. So is Tiffany trying to shade Mel at this point? Because like I said earlier, she made it a point to say Kiki was Mel's friend. But Tiffany then goes on to say that maybe she just feels differently because she doesn't have a large family. And Kiki was like, yeah, maybe you just don't understand. Again, if you cannot relate, that's on you. Find you some business and something else to talk about. And child, I don't know if Tiffany is getting the hints by now after damn near a whole hour of this episode, but she did sit there and looked a little stumped at the end. So it ends with a to be continued. So we will see more of this scene next week. And yeah, Kiki say, oh, she ready for this TV shit and she gonna bring it. Overall, it was a good episode. It's definitely good TV. It's the same shit, different season if you ask me, because again, we are still on this Christmas party. And I'm sorry, I'm getting more of a feel of scripted reality TV now. I think that the realness and rawness that we've seen on Love and Marriage Huntsville is gone. I think everybody is sitting back, coming up with a story to talk about on this show because it's really not given authentic. I mean, I know that with Tisha and Kiki being related and the issues that they've had in the past, I know that's authentic. But if they set their ass down at their reunion last year and discussed all of that, why are we still on it? Just why? And I'm going to end this by saying this, and I know that this is going to fall on deaf ears, but yeah, Carlos again, stop protecting those Scott men. We know y'all from Michigan, and folks are starting to think that you won't put their realty out there because of that. 98% of folks feel like Marceau and Maurice had the same BS going on that Martell had. This is the public's opinion. And you mean to tell me we in season 6 and not much has been said about that? We know that you said yourself that you was gonna talk about it at last year's reunion and then that's it. But no, that shouldn't be it. What Stormy mentioned at that Christmas party should have been discussed on this show. But anyway, guys, that is my recap. It was a long one. Prepare to see more drama because they know it sells. And guess what? I'll be watching. I would rather watch scripted mess, because that's what I think this is, instead of what we've seen in the past, and that was the ganging up on Mel. But hold your horses, because we know old petty ass Betty and Stormy is going to try to keep it on that same path. So I'm not sure if you guys saw Stormy's interview with Carlos King. I watched it last night, and I'll have a video about that tomorrow. And yeah, her mama was messy as hell in that interview as well. And Stormy was. I wasn't feeling the vibes. It is what it is. But anyway, guys, like I said, pretty good episode. And I think they are going to keep us talking. But I would love to see something different. I would love to see some new people, less Scots, less relatives of Tisha. Huntsville is not that small. I don't care where you gotta go. Find somebody else to come on this show to give us something fresh. But you guys drop down in the comments. Thank you for staying with me for this long recap. I really appreciate it. But drop down and let's chit chat about it. Please also make sure to like the video, hit that notification bell, and subscribe. Chat with you guys soon. Bye.